Welcome to the Nerd Party.
They can travel anywhere in time and space.
Right. This is gonna be fun.
Up we go into time and space!
Welcome to Time and Space, the Nerd Party's dedicated Doctor Who podcast. I'm Jessica Nunn.
And I'm her husband and co-host, Phillip Gilfus. Well, we're going to continue our discussion from last week about Gallifrey One.
Yes.
The sound is a little bit different. Last week we were on surround sound in our hotel room, and now we're safely ensconced back into our home.
We are indeed.
So, and then, not to spoil already, but next week we'll actually be doing a recording we did at Gallifrey One with one of the co-hosts here on the Nerd Party Network, Charlene Schmidt, talking about her sort of journey into first-time Doctor Whoing. So that sound will be a little surround sound as well. So apologize for all that, but I think its quality's still there and it's fun stuff to listen to. But in the last episode we were with Kat, of course, who brought us into this wonderful world of Galley One. And we had kind of gone up until our arrival until Friday afternoon. And so we're going to talk about sort of the rest of Friday evening, Saturday, and reflections upon thereon.
Yeah, I think general overview now that we are home and have had some time to mull it over.
I just unpacked today, so.
Well, there you go. I should probably do that at some point. We'll see.
Yeah, so.
We'll be off again for something eventually.
So I can cue up the things, but let's kind of talk about panels first.
Okay.
I think this was in some ways different from other cons I've been to, of course, years ago at this point. Because usually it was with a group of people, and so you hung out a lot more, with it was just the two of us, and we hung out the whole time because we're just together and married and forced to do so. But, I mean, it wasn't like...
legally bound.
And we had, we'll talk about our nights, but sort of during the day, it wasn't...
Wink, we
yes.
will not talk about our nights.
But hanging around with people, so there wasn't a lot of hanging around during the day.
Yeah, that's true, as you say, because we didn't know people... We didn't
but we ended up going
socialize a lot
more panels than I probably normally would have.
Really?
Yeah, because I think a lot of conventions I don't usually go to that many panels.
Oh, okay. Let's see, that's interesting.
Yeah, but anyway, so we did go to panels is my point. So what were ones that you remember from?
I really liked, does the coffee clatch
count?
Let's
talk about that. That was our sort of Saturday morning.
Was it Friday morning? Saturday morning? Oh, God, I don't know.
Yeah, see, it was Saturday morning.
Okay, our Saturday morning. It was Saturday at noon then. It was definitely noon. But anyway, and it was a group of 12 of us who got to sit down in a conference room and have coffee with Jamie Childs, who directed 4 episodes of The 13th Doctor.
Yeah, and it was the first one to direct her.
Yes, yeah.
Both because he did the teaser as well.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And
yeah.
Then, and I guess technically Rachel did the regeneration scene.
Yep.
But then he did the first full-up episode, so...
Yep. Yeah. So, and I found that really interesting. And I was excited about it, and I wanted to hear about it, but I didn't, there's not a whole lot of crossover between a theater director and a film director. So I didn't know how much of it would go over my head or anything. But it was still really interesting, and he was absolutely delightful, I thought.
No, yeah, again, not knowing the experience, but, he seemed like, I don't know, it sounds silly to say, but he seemed like a real person, just a regular person. He just happened to be directing. Like, he has a sound background. I thought that was interesting.
Yes,
you never know how people come to the job.
Yeah, and sound engineering. Mm-hmm. But, yeah. And he showed us pictures on his phone.
I know, I thought that was hilarious.
From the first episode, which, I thought was really cool. He's like, I got this on my phone. Hold on. But that's one of the nice things, I guess, about the coffee clatches and that sort of thing. And then we saw him later on with 3 other Doctor Who directors. Mm-hmm. For a bigger panel, and I also found that really interesting. So I enjoyed those sections of podcast.
Yeah, and I was
panel. Sorry.
Yeah, and I was interested in sort of the creative process, and I'm sure it's different with every show or every showrunner or whatever. But it was interesting just as far as story, because obviously with Chris Chibnall, not only is he showrunner, he literally writes a lot of the scripts as well, at least for this first series. And so, what part does he bring in the director and other folks, is it collaborative, or is it just Chris saying, here you go, and like from at least a theater background, they always dissuade us playwrights from writing too many stage directions. I always wonder how much is in the script that the director sort of has to put in himself or his vision, or is it just do what it says?
And Jamie talked a little bit about that in terms of sitting down with Chibnall with a complete script, but going through it together to talk about problems, to talk about things that they can do, all of those sorts of ideas. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like Jamie was not a big fan of the cranes in the beginning, but they made it happen.
Yeah, I mean, because it's obviously a Herculean effort. I mean, it's a lot of money, too. I mean, just because he's not responsible for getting the budget, but he's responsible for spending the money.
Yes, and for ideally sticking to the budget.
And so cranes are obviously a lot of money.
Yes, particularly because, as he was saying, the crane scenes were filmed in like 3 different places. Mm-hmm. The interior of the cranes and the top of the cranes and then the sides of the cranes were all 3 different location shots. So, and then, of course, you're not filming them back to back, so you've got to put them together in a way that is seamless.
And I thought it was interesting that the cranes were actually the first day of shooting.
Yes.
For The Woman Who Fell to Earth, literally the first thing ever filmed that first day was the cranes. So Jodie sort of got the, this is what we're doing.
Now jump.
So apparently I think she was, didn't he say she was not keen on heights or something?
Yeah, something like that, and they made her do it anyway.
So
Never mind.
So 2 panels I'll mention just quickly, because none of them were Doctor Who related, but they were at Gallifrey One. There was a Star Trek panel that was good, that I really liked. I thought, I won't go too deep into it because it's not a Star Trek podcast, but it was... This
is, by the way, one place where we did separate.
We did.
I sat at the bar and got chatted up by a businessman.
Oh, a non-Doctor Who person.
Non-Galley One person, yeah. And you went off and did your Star Trek.
Yeah. And so... But I think one thing going to that panel... it's you should always have your opinions in the fandom, whether it's Doctor Who or Star Trek or whatever it is. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion if it's not positive or negative or whatever. But I think in that one, we ended up talking a lot about, if people know the Star Trek stuff, Discovery is the current show in the air, and that has some divided thoughts, but I guess similar to Doctor Who, how the latest series has some divided thoughts as well. And so, but it does make you reflect on how to talk about stuff. And if you're not keen on a series or a character or something, that you're a fan of the larger stuff, so like Star Trek, for instance, say, you're not a big Discovery fan, but you love Star Trek, or say Doctor Who, say maybe you love Star Trek, you're not keen on the 13th Doctor or something like that. How do you place yourself in the fandom? How do you talk? Because you don't want to be a negative Nelly, but you also don't want to be silent, because you're there at the fandom too. So it just makes you think about how you talk about stuff. Mm.
And how you interact with people who have differing opinions.
Yeah. Because, one thing about, and again, I'll get off the Star Trek, but we try to do Doctor Who as well, but with City Alpha 3, with my Star Trek podcast that I have here on the network, we tend to like to have guests when we do Star Trek Discovery Rooms, Discovery episodes, because the 3 of us tend to be on the same wavelength, which is good as friends, but bad sometimes for a podcast. You just don't an echo chamber. So it's good to have someone who likes maybe a little bit more positive on Discovery than we are, because... we may be negative, but we just don't. It's not like, oh, that's the only opinion there is. That's just us. That's just us. And we like to have other people come on. If they love it, then they are more than happy to try to spread their love.
You say ugly things about them after they're gone, though.
Well, you got to hear Jessica, for whether she wanted to or not, sort of got a after dark Star Trek podcast experience.
I did, yes. Yes, when all of the Star Trek people came back to our hotel room, and I was surrounded by incessant Star Trek for about, 3-4 hours?
Possibly, yeah.
And, and I had absolutely nothing to contribute, so I read a book.
So what did you think of I'll do a quick, my other non-Star Trek, I'll just do it very quickly, is I was on a panel for Babylon 5, celebrating its 25 years, and I did miss out on seeing the Babylon 5 stars. I literally saw them there in the hallway signing autographs, but I didn't stand in line or go to their actual panel they were at, because it was conflicted with our Jamie Childs
yeah.
coffee clutch. But I think it's cool to have a small group and just be a big thing. So that was a little slightly disappointment, but I think when it came to Gallifrey One's schedule, I was sort of like, look, I'm going to see what I'm going to see. I'm not going to kill myself complaining about things, Just pick an event and go there and don't worry about, was it the FOMO, fear of missing out?
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm not going to have that. I'm not going to be that guy. Just be glad I got what I got. But anyway, it was interesting to be on a panel because I was sort of there as a fan. I like to feel like I'm a somewhat knowledgeable fan, but a fan nonetheless. And then there's a young lady sitting next to me who was also a fan, and then sort of three people beside us were the more maybe concrete people, had more of a legit background on Babylon 5. But I don't know. I don't know. You can tell me, you were in the audience. So it's like I wanted to give them time because they're legit people, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I did want to address some topics too.
Yeah, and I feel like you did that pretty well. You did have one sort of chatty Cathy in the bunch who had a lot to say.
It was not the woman. She was gender neutral.
Yes, that is a gender neutral chatty Cathy, and and seemed to want people to know that he was quite important, right. And that's fine. That's fine. But he did tend to occasionally monopolize. But I think you got a few good comments in, and I don't know enough about Babylon 5. For instance, I did this morning call it Babylon 9.
Yep.
So I don't know enough about the content, but it was interesting.
My favorite story from after Night Trek talk was we heard, because you always hear, and again, it's not Doctor Who, I know, but anyway, there was this the whole thing about Babylon 5 or Star Trek, Deep Space Nine in the 90s, both these space station shows and blah blah. But apparently the cast and crew were fine, and they were friends, and there was like a softball game or a baseball game they played against each other.
Yeah.
And I guess the Babylon 5 people won, and they made T-shirts that said like Babylon 5, Deep Space Nine 4. So that was funny. But anyway, so what did you think of the Catherine Tate panel, otherwise known as her one-woman show?
Yes, it felt very... I'm not sure. I like Catherine Tate a lot. I can't even begin to imagine how hectic and stressful these sorts of things are.
And I seem to glean it was her first Doctor Who convention.
Yes, that seems to be the idea I had as well. And you see her, we had our picture made with her, and it was literally a step in, arms around, step out, next. And I can't imagine having to stand there for an hour or 2 hours and do that, and then go do 2 hours worth of autographs. And it for me, as somebody who doesn't like crowds very much, that seems really, really stressful to have strangers at me all the time. I just think it would be exhausting. That said, just didn't necessarily seem quite as warm and welcoming as perhaps I would have liked.
Yeah.
She played things very close to the vest.
Right. Yeah, I would say, because I don't know the woman, but it'd sort of be like, I don't understand you nerds, so I'm just going to try to fall back on what I know.
Yes, which is comedy.
Which was crowd work, is what she...
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And she was great at it, but it did feel like we were going to see the Catherine Tate show rather than...
Which we would go see.
Which we would absolutely go see. But she played things very close to the vest, when people were like, hey, what's up next for you? And what would you love to do? And she's like, I don't want to talk about those sorts of things.
Yeah, it's bad luck, she says, just put it out there.
Yeah, and I get it. Everybody's got their quirks. That's absolutely fine. It just, it didn't feel... And like you say, this was her first one, and that may be something that she warms up to or decides she never wants to do again,
Yeah,
because she is welcome to do that. Because
she's a self-confessed... not Doctor Who fan. And she's also, is like, I don't remember stuff, like, don't ask me about this episode of that. I mean, and I don't think it's in a mean way. It's just, I'm sure if you want to talk to her about, or ask her about David Tennant, she could tell you that. But, like, what was it like to have a beetle on your back? She's like, I don't know if I remember that.
Yeah. Tell us about meeting Peter Capaldi and...
Though that said, she did remember one line. And I think, was it where... It was the one, maybe one of her last ones, because she had she remembered the scene of like where she was telling the doctor, "Oh, we're going to travel forever together" or something, and that may have been maybe her last or her last proper episode. I know she had a bunch, but that last Donna full on as companion episode when the doctor then zapped her memory and the Doctor Donna and all that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think also, particularly if you are not a fan. it's got to be a little strange as a working actor to have this one thing that you did for a year or however long. And even then it wasn't a full year because that, they shot for 9 weeks or, 4 months or however long they shot. And then it was done. And so she spent 4 months on a job. And now that's all anybody ever wants to talk about, and that must be a really strange thing as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed her. I laughed at her panel. I wish we'd gotten to see the John Barrowman, if for no other reason than for the comparison.
Right.
But it was slam-packed. There was no way
we did not get to the John Barrowman, because he did 2. He did Sunday, but we had to leave early Sunday, because we had to fly across the whole country. But anyway, we at least got we tried to get into the line, and I don't know, I don't have FOMO. I'm like, this is a long line. I'm not going to wait here and get jammed-packed into a room.
Yeah, we did actually get to see him through one of the side doors. He was wearing a dress.
At least the first time we got to see him. We later got to see him again.
Oh, yes.
But anyway, just from a panel perspective.
Yes, but that was all, and the crowd was going crazy, and he clearly knew how to work them beautifully, but that's John Barrowman, and he's, again, I suspect that even if we'd been able to see it from comparison, he is such a different kettle of fish. I mean, he's
a performer.
He is a showman.
Showman, you're right. Captain T's obviously a performer.
But he is a showman.
Right.
And he
the greatest showman?
Maybe, at the moment. Mm-hmm. But, he wants the attention. He is quite happy to talk about it for days and, that sort of thing. So, very different people. And so, possibly wouldn't be fair to compare them.
And he's someone who's very familiar with the fandom, so.
Yes, yeah.
I guess the last panel, unless you can think of another one, that we went to was Acting on Audio, and this was sort of the Big Finish panel.
Oh, yeah. I also quite enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I was a little late to it because I was doing a meetup picture thing. But anyway, so what did you think of Big Finish with Nick Briggs, Yasmin Bannerman, Jacob Dudman, Lisa Greenwood, and Tim Traylor? I'm probably saying his name wrong.
Reminds me of Trenzalore every time I hear it. Every time I hear his name. So, Traylor. I think that's the way you pronounce it, Traylor. Okay. That was really interesting. Nick Briggs is obviously fascinating. The 3 younger people were just voice performers for them. But a lot of fun, and it was interesting to hear how people had gotten into it and how it worked a little bit. I just found the whole thing quite interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely a good one to have.
Yeah.
All right, well, going from panels, so obviously a big part of Gallifrey One and a lot of conventions is the cosplays. Yeah. So did you have any particular favorites? Of course, how did your experience work out? I mean, I guess we talked last week, but so Saturday, how did it go being your Dalek dress? That was the second time, right?
Yeah, my Dalek dress was good. It was very cute. I wish I'd had more petticoats to poof it out a little bit, but that was fine. Nick Briggs did actually walk past me in the corridor and made eyes at my dress. So I was quite pleased with that. The trick was, because I had styrofoam balls attached to it, sitting was tricky.
Right.
And I eventually just had to figure out that I needed to sit on my petticoat and not my dress. So I figured it out, and it was fun. Mm-hmm. But, tell us about your cosplay outfits, darling.
I thought my Saturday went pretty well, actually. It seemed to get more attention. I went as my Captain America, Captain Jack mashup, and people seemed to really enjoy it. And
lots of people wanted to have your picture made.
I did, yes. That was one to keep. I think that's a keeper. And so I went to the Captain Jack cosplay photo meetup, and that was pretty cool. There were one or two Captain Johns I thought was pretty cool. Or I guess it was a Torchwood anyway. But it was just basically all Captain Jacks of all genders, as well as some Captain Johns. And so that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a little unique take, and all ages too, so that was interesting. So yeah, I was successful. The Captain America shield, I'm afraid, was a fatality of the travel.
Yes, it got cracked on the way out and then absolutely destroyed on the way back, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So, but I always have a birthday coming up. So.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, no, I was glad because not having been to a meetup picture session before. You know, I mean, people have a million phones. I'm not going to throw mine out there because whatever. I assume it'll pop up somewhere. And
Yeah.
of course, it didn't pop up somewhere. Then eventually, it popped up like on Instagram, like 5 days later. It's like, oh, good, finally, I'm glad someone got a shot of it.
Well, I mean, there's a picture of us somewhere with Jamie Childs.
Oh, is there? I didn't see that.
Yeah, because they put us in the closet.
Oh, you're
part,
right.
Remember, and
I
took
wonder
our
what they did
picture.
do with
Yeah,
that.
we need to find out because
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having a copy of that.
Yeah, that's
because I was
good.
standing right
Good
next
point.
to him in the front. So there's that.
That's true. But any other cosplays you were
Oh yeah, I
particularly
mean we played a scavenger hunt.
Oh, that's true. Yes,
on Saturday.
Yeah, because I guess one part is just it's hard to take everything in, so maybe it's good to have a mission. So I said Saturday, let's get a pictures of all the doctors, but it has to be in order, so that way it makes it a little bit more fun and challenging. So you had to find 1 and 2. I think the only thing we did go out of order on, we did see a war doctor early on, and you were like, let's just go ahead and get that one.
Yes, because there were not that many war doctors wandering around. And actually, I was surprised. It was tricky. The trickiest one probably was 9.
Yes.
Partly because not a lot of people dressed as 9, but also because you see somebody in a leather jacket and you're like, are they dressed as 9 or are they just wearing a leather jacket? And so there was that. But we did find a lovely 9, a woman. We got a lot of, I feel like we did pretty well in terms of our gender equality in our pictures. But yeah, that was great fun. Loved the Girl Scout Weeping Angel.
Oh goodness, yes, that was good.
Yes. Hated the tiny children running around as Weeping Angel cherubs because that was creepy.
That was creepy.
There was somebody dressed as a full-sized adipose.
Oh yeah, very plush and big and whatever.
Yeah, there was someone dressed as Davros, properly working that. There were a lot of 1950s Rose.
Yeah,
and I was a
popular.
little surprised by that. But I guess it's a very iconic, when you think about, how do I dress as Rose? That
Right.
is very distinctive. So, in the same way that Donna in her wedding dress
Right.
was very distinctive, and we saw several of those. I think the kids were the most fun.
Yeah.
The little kids dressed as the water people.
With Cassandra, her
Yes.
moisturizers or whatever they're called.
And so they were these little tiny kids in these white outfits with spray guns and a little model Cassandra that they were rolling around. That was...
Because I think it was funny, there was an adult version of that. Mm-hmm. And then one of the hotel rooms we passed by that had the big party that we never got invited to, that had the plush, or had the blow-up Dalek, also had a Cassandra in their window that they...
Yes, yeah. Yeah, we did get a picture with I got a picture with the Dalek, because that one almost matched my dress. But yeah, we never got an invitation to the party, so
Yes.
we should have just walked in.
I guess.
Been like, what up, yo?
We're the parents of everyone.
Shut
So
up.
you kids make sure...
No.
It's there are a lot of young people there.
There were a lot of young people there. Yeah, it was all right.
But, so and there was just a lot of cosplays. We'll throw our pictures up on my Instagram and Facebook. So,
But then a lot of people who just weren't.
Yeah.
And I guess I was a little surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you're going, and this is not me being disappointed by it, but I had sort of assumed if you're going to a full-on, this is a Doctor Who themed thing, I figured everybody would be in costume at some point.
Right.
But it was nice that people weren't, because then we felt just as normal at 3 o'clock going, right, let's go put our blue jeans on and go wander around. So,
Yeah, and that was because I don't cosplay, whatever. But anyway, a lot. But anyway, not doing a full day of it at least. And so we always seem to be like mid-afternoon, we'd be like changing to our sort of civilians and be
tired of being in a dress.
Because I had a Captain America mask, which it was a little sweaty. I mean, because it is what it is. But, so I would just take it off during panels, dab the sweat off the mask in my head and put it back on. But it seemed to acclimate after a while, I guess.
Okay.
Because you never know what the temperature is going to be. Or too cold, too hot,
And it was all of those things.
Exactly. Yeah, we broke California.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Cool. So there's a lot of cosplays. So just look up hashtag Galley1 #1 and you'll find lots of great pictures there.
Yep.
So let's just talk about sort of everything else outside of the sort of formal con. So, the foods and the eats, what'd you think of that?
We did a lot of, or not a lot of, but we did Grubhub and Domino's and things like that. We didn't try any of the food trucks.
No.
Which I'm a little sad about. But
I'm just not a fan of lines, which I know sounds funny at a convention. I mean, because I remember at Dragon Con, I waited probably an hour just to go see the Star Trek, panel, because that's just how long you had to wait over there. But here, I was just like, you know what? I'm really not going to work hard for anything, really.
Yeah, and that was fine. And there were lines, and we ate. We had a couple of good breakfasts in the hotel.
Yeah. Wasn't crazy. I mean, it was a hotel price. Wasn't a crazy hotel price.
Yeah.
You got your Eggs Benedict. So.
I did, yes.
Twice.
Yep. The first one was really good. The second one was okay.
Okay.
We walked to Denny's in the pouring rain.
Thank you, L.A.
Pouring rain. But the food was good, so there was that.
Mm-hmm. And later we found out they delivered.
And then later we found out we could have Grubhubbed it, so, important to know.
Yeah, we went to, what we got, because you're the one who ordered. We got burgers. Where were the burgers from?
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, no, I know
it was a place I don't think I'd heard of, actually.
No.
But anyway.
No, I don't remember. And then ordered a pizza another night.
Yeah. And then, so I guess we had, so like I said, with next week, we'll have Shar on, but for her, we met Shar and Patrick, who do Babble for 5, the Babble on 5 video podcast. We went to Z Pizza, I believe. Okay. Was the place. It's
you cannot ask me to remember that.
Was 2 blocks, because you were.
Yeah. Shar brought vodka.
Yeah.
And so
Which you may or may not be able to tell during the podcast.
You might be able to. I get really talkative when I've had a little bit to drink, so...
But that was a nice place. It wasn't crazy busy. I don't know whether it's due to the weather or the time of day.
And
it was Valentine's night.
It was Valentine's night, and it was a little bit more temperate, because we ate outside.
Yeah.
And it was a little chilly, but not
hectic.
They
had beer taps. That's not the right word. Well, they did. But they sort of, you had, 12 that you did it yourself. It just gave you the electronic thing, which took me a while to figure out, but...
Yeah, I did not drink while I was there because I'd had quite a plenty by then. But yeah, that was fun and not too far away, and that's a good thing.
We ended up eating at the restaurant there, and there's several, but it's the one right at the bar. I forget the formal name of that restaurant. It's not the Social, because that's over there.
That was where we'd had the breakfast.
Right. So it's the one that's basically the bar, the restaurant that's beside the bar, or beside the bar. So we went there one time. We just have appetizers or...
Yeah.
And it was pretty,
A pretzel and beer cheese.
Yeah. That's basically because usually you could find a table versus wading into the lobby.
Yes. Well, when we first got there, you could find a table. We tried to eat there at one point, and they were like, it's an hour wait. And we were like, nope.
Grubhub.
Yep. So that was fine.
I think that's when we skipped dinner, because I think that's when we were going to do...
when we had Patrick...
Larry and Darren.
Darren, yes. Yeah. Yeah, the lobby, and they refer to it as LobbyCon, that got a little bit hectic for me.
And I was a little surprised, considering how much activities were going on late night, that people still lobbied.
Yeah.
But, of course, I guess, what can we say? We were there, too.
Yeah, also true. Although, on Saturday night...
Yes, karaoke.
We did go to karaoke.
Yeah, that was definitely cool. I mean, we
were definitely
they had
fantastic.
As well.
They had blue drinks that they called the Thirsty TARDIS.
They had 2 signature drinks.
I can't remember the other one.
The one at the actual bar, I forget, too, what it was.
Yeah,
I remember not liking
purple.
it as much.
Yeah.
So I did like the Thirsty TARDIS or whatever.
Yeah. So better. I drank blue drinks all night, and you drank White Russians.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think that it's from the bar. I just said, give me some. Oh no, that was from the karaoke bar because they had Kahlua. At the other bar, I had
a martini, an espresso martini.
Yeah,
which they
sweet.
Normally didn't make.
Right.
Did special for you, which I thought was great.
Mm-hmm.
And the karaoke was a lot of fun because everybody was just singing along, and
all ages.
The entire place nearly shut itself down when somebody got up to sing the theme song from
DuckTales.
DuckTales.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that was the place to be.
Which, of course, has a Doctor Who connection.
Of course, it has a couple of Doctor. Apparently, Catherine Tate does it as well.
That's true. Yeah.
So, that was a lot of fun. We did not sing.
No. Well, we did.
Yes, we did not get on stage and sing.
We were helping.
Yeah, we were background vocals for a lot of songs.
We just enjoy helping. That's our role.
But it was really cool. I mean, it was a place we could sit down and drink, and we had entertainment, but we could also do a lot of people watching, which was a lot of fun.
Right. Oh, yes.
There was definitely one guy there dressed as Frankenfurter.
Yes. Yeah, I took his photo. Yep.
So...
So we
There
heard
you
two
go.
renditions of Sweet Transvestite.
We did hear two versions of Sweet Transvestite, which, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
We sang along with both of them.
That's right.
And you're welcome.
Exactly.
So,
Anything else? What other? The weather, of course, was horrible.
it was pretty dire.
But
Yeah.
we got through it.
Yeah.
The hotel itself, what'd you think of? Of course, we were lucky enough to score being at the Marriott.
We were lucky enough to score it being at the Marriott. And not only that, but we ended up with a ground level room.
Yes, first floor.
Yes. So our... it wasn't first floor to the lobby. It was actually downstairs from the lobby.
I mean, you said ground level. That was literally the first floor, but when you say ground level, it's actually had to go down.
Well, I was thinking it was ground level to the pool.
Yes.
So we actually
Pool
had
level.
a back door
Yes.
that opened out into the pool area,
Yeah,
which
which is
was
pretty
quite
cool.
nice. Yeah. And really easy. You know, in between panels, I could pop over to the room and go to the loo or what, you know, so... I liked being that close, but still, once the door was closed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was wondering, and then probably the weather helped. I didn't know how crazy it would be in our backyard with partying and everything.
Yeah.
Not to be the old man, but whatever. Not that we weren't up, but anyway. But I think the weather sort of kept the pool partying to a minimum.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, but people were in the pool, and we were in the hot tub, and then lots of people were in the hot tub.
That's right.
So
We were trendsetters.
we were.
Yeah, but I liked the hotel. I mean, it was our first time, so I don't know any different. But I mean, no complaints that I can really think of. I mean, other than it being crowded, but I'm sure that's the point. So you know, it's one of the things with the lobby con, because like we'd be like, oh hey, let's meet up. You know, when Darren, my co-host from City Alpha 3 came, and we're going to meet Larry Nemechek, who's on the Trek panel, was no place for 4 people to sit at, 10:30 at night. So it's like, let's just go to our room. And of course, if the weather had been nicer, we actually stayed in the pool area for a little bit, but it got a little cool there, so we ended up just going to our room, which was fine. But I'm sure maybe if the weather was nicer, then the pool area may have been more of a secondary lobby con.
Yes.
Though you get better drink service at the lobby, whereas at the pool area, your drink service is very interesting.
Yes. Yes. Very interesting.
Interesting. Everything comes in a can, no matter what you order.
Yep.
No matter what you order, it's in a can.
Yep.
So that's interesting.
And in a paper bag.
Exactly. All right. So now that we grizzled our way through our first Gallifrey One, if you met someone who was going their first time, what would you recommend to them? Or if you went a second time, what would you do differently, if anything?
I'd definitely go to karaoke another night.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
It was.
I don't know why.
I think we had guests every night.
Yeah, and maybe that's it, because we had talked about it. But, yeah, I think being prepared for the lobby is the most thing. Because I was thinking, well, I know it's a little expensive, but we can eat at the hotel every time. And that wasn't really an option.
Yeah, just sort of figuring out your food choices. But I think, like I said, with the Grubhub, then you have all the choices in the world. So, yeah, I would tell people, if you're worried about food, you don't want to walk, you don't want to spend all the money in the world, just Grubhub it. They'll come to your hotel.
Yeah,
Room.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we sort of did cheap and easy. We've got burgers and fries, but,
pizza,
you can get Chinese and Italian and all sorts of things, and... Yeah.
And maybe if you're younger and cooler, you can get invited to all the room parties.
Yes. Yeah, that's the other thing. I possibly would have been better prepared with alcohol.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, just the two of us that may people have questioned. And then traveling. I guess unless you just say hit a liquor store
or something.
In L.A.
Yeah. Or even just a grocery store and gotten some beer. Just because trying to get a beer at the bar
right.
was a nightmare.
Yeah, because we did talk to a server when we were in the sort of lobby area, because they had a server, at least that one night they did, work in the lobby area, and she was saying, a lot of people bring their own stuff. And I was like, oh, that's weird. But then now looking back, I'm like, well, I see why.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that's something that I would think about. Be aware of weight limits on your suitcases.
Yes.
We had to play that game, both going out and coming back, of redistributing weight between our 2 suitcases so that Phillip's wasn't too heavy to travel.
Right.
To know. What about you?
Yeah, for me personally, this would not apply to other people. I mean, it's what I did this time, but also just the next time, for the panel schedule, be pretty good about what you want to see, because you can't really, I mean, you could do it on the fly, but I wouldn't suggest that. It's just make a choice. This is what I'm going to go see, and then that's what you go see. You're going to miss out on stuff. You're always going to miss out on stuff. There's like 5 choices every hour, so if you like 2 of them, then you're pretty much screwed. So, just pick what you want, and then don't worry about what you're missing. And then try to meet with someone else who went to all the other panels, and then you can talk about what went on. So
yeah, absolutely. It would have. I don't know. And again, this may be because we're old, as you say, but I don't know how to necessarily go about meeting people.
Yeah, I mean, there is a little bit. We got the whole. I guess we didn't even talk. We talked ribbons a little bit last week, but people are always coming up and talking and chatting. And
yeah, I mean, we were not antisocial. No. We talked to a lot of people, but
we may just present older. So
yeah, maybe, I don't know. Yeah. But we never had, and we introduced ourselves to people, but it never went. Oh, we should hang out, or oh, we should get each other's email addresses. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's because we're attached, and people are like, "No, there's no point in bringing in a couple unless they're into that sort of thing." Wink.
Right, it's a different kind of convention.
It is a different kind of convention.
Right. Everyone leave your TARDIS key.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been nice to have gotten more autographs of like the Babylon 5 people or Tony Curran, who played, if I'm saying that name right, who played Vincent Van Gogh. But I don't know, I'm just not a line person. I mean, it depends how bad you really want it. Look, like I said, at Dragon Con, seeing Star Trek people, I waited in line. But I was like, for autograph, I'm like, I don't know, I'll wait 15 minutes. But I mean, I'm not going to spend my whole hour here.
The only reason we got John Barrowman's autograph was because there wasn't a queue.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. So yeah, let's talk about John Barrowman. So he was in the dealer's room, and where most of the autographs are, of course. And I just happened to notice, like, well, there's only, it's a short line.
Yeah, 2 people or something. And so we were like, hey, can we get in there? And she's like, oh, he's finishing up right now. And we were like, oh. And then she was like, well, if you really want, she was not going to turn our money away.
Yeah. It was one of those things where, I don't begrudge her, because, I know what it is, where it's like to work someplace, and someone shows up with 1 minute to close. You're like, F you, man.
Yeah.
So, we were really like, oh, well, that's no big deal. But she was like, I mean, if you want to.
And so we were like, yeah, let's do it.
So...
but then we got up there, and they had all of these headshots of him that you could pick for him to sign, and that came with the price of the autograph. Right. So we got our picture of John Barrowman, and we took it up to him, and then he...
It was interesting, because he was, I don't know, he seemed not detached, but I guess focused on some... I don't know, maybe I'm just joking, I don't know the man. But, he'd just taken his, attention medication, so he could only do one thing at a time. And so he was very intent on, I am going to make sure your autograph is correct, instead of being like, hey, how you doing, and whatever. And
I just got the impression that he was knackered. He had done his hour-long, he'd been doing pictures, he'd done his hour-long panel all by himself, and that must have taken tremendous amounts of energy, and then we were at the tail end of his autographs.
Yeah, and this is no complaints about John. It's just sort of it was just a little off, but which is, again, fine. So, he started to do, Phillip, but he did it with one L. And he's like, oh, no, this is wrong. And he just ripped up the photo. I'm like,
and Phillip was like, no, it's okay. And he's like, nope, and ripped it up and was like, I need another one. And so then Phillip had to go get another one. So.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, it's on stage, it seemed like that took 10 minutes. I don't know how much it actually took in real life.
No, it didn't take
because it seemed like he asked for it, no one would get it. And so I was like, well, I'll go get it. And then, of course, the person had packed up, so then I had to get her to put all the photographs out. And so I don't know what went on in your version of the story during, the 8 hours I was over there. Where it was just you and him.
We were just chit-chat. I was like, hey, I met you at Guilford Castle. You were filming something. He's like, what was I filming? And I was like, I have no idea. And he says, me either. And,
So at least you got some alone time with him.
Yes, but again, he seemed a little bit detached and tired.
Which is
just, yeah.
We don't expect people to be on all the time.
No, and I say, that whole...
Because then he got both our names right. And then, I forget how it kind of ended, but I remember it was just me and him at the end when I was walking away. And I just thought, look, this guy's been everything. I don't normally fist bump, but it's I'll just do that way. Because also, people shake your hand, they hug you, you're worn out, so I just fist bump. And he's like, no.
He said, I'd like to, I'm a handshaker.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, which was very nice, yeah.
But
as you say, that, shaking people's hands all day has got to be exhausting and really germy.
And hugging, because he's a hugger, and people, his fans are huggers, and, we're just like, John, you can, you can be at 10% for us.
Yes, absolutely. We are not going to begrudge you being, at 90% instead of at 100%.
Of course, I say that during, I guess this was after we had done, I almost felt like, I don't forget if it was in the middle of our debacle, or it must have been afterwards, when we were done, because we were supposed to theoretically be the last people, but then people kept trickle. And so we had the kids.
No, that was right before us.
That was right
before us,
okay.
Yeah. The little kids with the Cassandra. And he needed to make a film.
Yes, he did a short film.
So he had his phone, and he was like, okay, in just a minute I'm going to say, oh, it looks like Cassandra needs to be hydrated, and then and then the Davros character was there. The person dressed up as Davros, so he was like, all right, and so no, stay there, and then when I've said action, you're gonna rope. I mean, he was directing this little short film with these tiny children. It was very cute.
I liked it. My favorite part is he did it all just for a joke, because he had the kids moisturize. When Davros moved to Rawls, he's like, hey, here's a guy who looks like he needs some moisturizing. And I was like, it's all for that, isn't it?
Yep, it was funny.
Yeah.
And very cute. So, he was going above and beyond in a lot of ways, so I did not begrudge him not giving us 100%.
No. We already have the autographed John Barrowman photo in our Torchwood. Well, no, in our Torchwood cube of our Doctor Who overall bookshelf cube, area. So yeah, it was definitely cool, because now I have a story to go with it, right?
Yep.
The ripped up photo.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so, in conclusion, what was Gallifrey One all you thought it would be?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's necessarily because it's a big trip, and I don't know necessarily it's a trip that I would want every year.
Yeah.
Because it is a big trip, and we like to travel.
Yeah.
And right now our next big one is going to be back to England. That'll be our next big one, but we've got some little ones in the mix as well. So, and we like to go different places and try different things sometimes. So,
of course, then we will be going to Raleigh Supercon.
That's right. Yes, we will be spending a day at Raleigh Supercon, and we'll be able to see.
I don't know what I would do for cosplay, because I don't think Captain America, Captain Jack would get as much play, because I don't know how many Captain Jacks.
Yeah.
I mean, there would be, but not a lot.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't know.
TARDIS dress would be good. Well, even the Dalek, both of yours would work.
Yeah, we'll see how I feel about it.
I feel like maybe if just because you've done TARDIS twice, you could do the Dalek one again, because there may not be, it's just going to be a day, we'll stay the night. I don't know if you'll necessarily be sitting down as much, so it's just a thought. But do whatever you want.
We'll see.
Give it a little more play,
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was our Gallifrey One adventure, so we can certainly answer any questions about it or spread any of the love. There was, a lot of contacts, or a lot of people said hi, and we had our little ad in the program, so hopefully maybe that if you're a new listener, we certainly appreciate you joining. So with that, we're going to go into the TARDIS library.
When you close your eyes,
I go to the library.
Go to the library now.
And with this into the TARDIS library, where it's interesting, there was a room at Gallifrey One, which I've been to one in Star Trek conventions before, and Doctor Who one before, where they're just showing Doctor Who. Obviously, makes sense, right?
Yep.
And so one of the episodes, one we'd both seen, of course, was the Sarah Jane Adventures, The Death of the Doctor, with the 11th Doctor. But for today's TARDIS library, we're going to be talking about a different Sarah Jane Adventure episode, and that is The Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, which premiered 29 October 2009. Would you like to give the synopsis there?
Yes, please. After Sarah Jane starts acting suspiciously, Luke, Clyde, Ronnie, and K9 investigate. They discover she has a new boyfriend, Peter Dalton, and they're going to get married. Clyde suspects Peter may be an alien. At the wedding, an old enemy returns. As the gang find themselves trapped in a time loop in limbo, can a very special friend from the past save Sarah, her friends, and the entire planet Earth from the wrath of the trickster?
And the very special friend, of course, being...
The trickster. Oh, the Doctor.
The 10th Doctor.
Yes, the 10th Doctor.
Yes, so this was the 10th Doctor's cameo in Sarah Jane, what we'd seen the 11th Doctor's before. So, what did you think of the 10th Doctor's adventure?
Yes, I always loved the 10th Doctor. I find him a lot of fun. I think my favorite thing, and we talked a little bit while it was happening, Clyde is the suspicious one all the way through this. And they've got him dressed, at least for the wedding, like the Doctor. Yeah. Brown pinstriped suit with white trainers, which I thought was really an interesting choice.
And he ends up getting zapped with the Artron. Why am I saying that wrong? Anyway, with the energy, something left my head how to say that. Energy from the TARDIS, which of course will come up again with
the 11th Doctor.
Yes, next Sarah Jane adventure with the Doctor.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I didn't think I'd seen part 2, I think, twice for some reason, but I've never seen the part 1 setting everything up. So I thought that was an interesting one. You know, they sort of have the TARDIS noises playing without the first episode to kind of tease you about what's going on. So, but yeah, I thought it was a interesting adventure, especially with the way that sort of, you have Sarah Jane, but then with the 10th Doctor who, tends to take the air out of the room, when he comes in, which is fine. But then he sort of disappears for a little bit, so it allows the kids to sort of be back into the focus of the show, because it's, their show. But I thought it sort of played well, because you had sort of Sarah Jane and Peter and the Trickster and sort of this scene, and then you had the kids and the Doctor in this scene, and even K9 as well, so...
I like the way, and both of them do it really nicely, both Matt Smith and David Tennant. But I think David Tennant in particular are really good at giving this, I've known you for years and years and years. They can give Sarah Jane this look that just says, you're the person I've known forever. Even though they've done very little together. And I think that's really nice, and I always enjoy that. Sarah Jane is very much one of the most special companions, I think.
It was interesting. We just caught some tail end to make some references here at Galley One of Katie Manning, who played Jo Grant, who seems an absolute delight.
Yeah, she was just adorable, and she was hugging people and just really friendly. Yeah,
but I guess someone asked her about Death of the Doctor, but she talked about Liz Sladen, of course, Sarah Jane. Liz saying that she thought her character was a little, needed to loosen up a little bit. So, in this episode here, where she is sort of falling in love. I mean, and I guess we've talked about it a little bit, but what do you think of that character of Sarah Jane that, after having all these adventures as a young person, sort of becomes this sort of solitary figure of sort of putting up walls around herself? And
yeah, I mean, I think that there are walls. I think at the same time, though, we would be doing her a disservice to suggest that by not having a husband.
Well, she's not even that social.
No,
right? That's
certainly true. Although she does have K9 and Mr. Smith. It's not completely antisocial.
Right.
It's just sort of caught up in a different place. It may be a little strange that her 3 best friends are young children. When if you're changed in a way that nobody else can really understand.
Right.
What do you do?
So that's why I thought it was an interesting episode with this, because, Peter seems like a nice chap, other than the deviousness that's going around him. And so, but the story's somewhat a little hard with the accelerated timeline of meeting and getting married and all that. But, the characters all say that too, so it's not like that's unacknowledged or anything. So, but it was sort of nice to sort of see that part of her character of connecting with another sort of her age person. Yeah. Especially in a romantic manner. Because, it sort of makes her think about, the one time I try and do it, this happens. But, hey, I have my son and, my kitty pals and all that stuff, so.
And my K9.
Yep.
I wonder what the thought process was in terms of just bringing Sarah Jane back. Mm-hmm. Just because I think it might be interesting to bring 2 companions back. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, and have them go off on these wild adventures where they're in charge, you know. I don't know. And of course, then I was thinking about present day, and I was like, I don't know who you'd get, because everybody's off in different places. Clara and Puddle Bill.
Yes.
I don't know. I could get behind a Puddle Bill. Uh-huh. A Puddle Cyberman Bill. Yep. Whatever she is. But yeah, if you think about which companions in New Who are currently walking around London.
Yeah.
You know, Rose is gone.
Right. Martha's still... Well, she's
off doing unit stuff.
Well, yeah, or independent.
Yeah,
her and Mickey,
independent contractor.
With her husband.
Yeah, she's off being an army girl.
Yep. And then Donna's technically still around.
She is, but has no recollection of anything.
Mm-hmm. Amelia's in the past.
Yep, Amelia and Rory are in the past.
So, that's everyone.
Clara.
Well, hopefully, I guess traveling around in her TARDIS.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. She's dead, too. Oh, my God.
Yes, yeah.
You can't do it with any of the current companions.
So I'm hoping...
Oh, we did forget to mention, by the way, about seeing young Amelia on our panel. She was cute.
Yeah.
I think we might have talked about her the first
last week.
time, so
yeah, that's
fine.
right. Though we didn't... I don't think we'd seen the little girl dressed as little Amelia.
Oh, so cute, with her little red wellies. And a little bobble hat. The kids were my favorite bit.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a good Sarah Jane episode.
Yes.
It does make you wonder, I don't know this for a fact, but I assume no other classic companions will ever show up again. But it does make you wonder why, if they would ever thought about doing more of that.
Yeah.
Because, they're obviously still around.
Yeah, and I would be really interested I would love to see Susan show back up.
Yeah.
That, I think, would be really interesting.
That does make me think, and I know this
Although, presumably, Susan stayed...
on Earth.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Well, she stayed on Earth, so...
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like, but I really hope Chip Mill doesn't do anything to these companions, like, crazy. I just hope they all, we're done. We're just going to stay at home now.
Yeah, and sit by the fire.
Yeah, we're just going to live our lives.
Yeah.
Please don't kill us.
Yeah.
When their time is up.
Again, because when you think about all of the modern companions... None of them are living normal lives, except for Donna, and that's only because her memory was wiped.
Right.
So, that's sad.
It is.
Anyway,
so like I said, next week we'll be having our recording of Shar talking about her first-time doctoring experience. She's the 13th Doctor is her first Doctor.
Yep.
Which I think is an amazing thing.
Yep, that's really exciting.
And I started her on the 9th Doctor, so she's gotten a little bit of a taste about that. So.
Yes, but she's just watched a couple of episodes of that.
So we'll be having that for next week. So until then, enjoy all of the adventures of the Doctors, whether it's reading, listening, or watching them throughout all of time and space.
This is BBC Television.